Have you ever wondered why some people with diabetes seem to keep their blood sugar under control much more easily than others, even though they're eating many of the same foods? The answer may be simpler than you think. Because hidden among the vegetables in your local grocery store are a handful of foods that researchers have spent years studying for one remarkable reason. They don't just provide vitamins. Some help slow the absorption of sugar after a meal. Others improve how your body responds to insulin. And one contains a natural compound so promising that scientists compared its effect on blood sugar to one of the most commonly prescribed diabetes medications in the world. I'm Dr. Nathan Ashford, and on this channel, I help adults over 50 understand the latest medical research so they can make smarter decisions about their health. If you've been told that diabetes only gets worse with age, I want you to remember something. Your body is changing, but it's still listening. Every meal sends your body a message. Some foods tell your blood sugar to rise quickly. Others help keep it steady. The difference may not seem dramatic after one meal, but repeated every day, those choices can shape your health for years to come. Now, let's be clear. No vegetable can cure diabetes, and nothing you'll hear today should replace the treatment or medication recommended by your healthcare provider. But the evidence is becoming increasingly clear that certain vegetables can become powerful partners in helping manage blood sugar naturally when combined with a healthy lifestyle. Today, I'll count down 9 vegetables that have shown the most promising evidence for supporting healthy blood sugar. We'll begin with foods that create a strong foundation for better glucose control. Then we'll work our way to the vegetable researchers found so intriguing that it became the focus of groundbreaking diabetes studies. And I encourage you to stay until the very end. Because the number one vegetable isn't the one most people expect, and there's one simple way to prepare it that many people completely overlook. Before we begin, I'd love to know something about you. How old are you, and which vegetable do you eat most often during the week? Leave your answer in the comments below. I read as many comments as I can, and they help me create videos that answer the questions you're asking most. Now, let's start with a vegetable that nearly every diabetes nutrition expert agrees belongs on your plate. But surprisingly, millions of people still don't eat enough of it. Number 9. Leafy greens, the foundation of better blood sugar. Let's begin with the vegetable that deserves a place on almost every diabetic's plate. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard. Collard greens. Simple foods that many people overlook because they don't seem powerful enough to make a real difference. But that's exactly where they're wrong. The greatest strength of leafy greens isn't found in one miracle compound. It's found in how they quietly improve the way your body handles sugar every single day. Here's why. Leafy greens are naturally very low in digestible carbohydrates, but incredibly rich in fiber. When you eat them alongside a meal, that fiber slows the digestion of everything else on your plate. Instead of glucose rushing into your bloodstream all at once, it's released gradually. Think of it like pouring water through 2 different funnels. One is wide open. The water floods through immediately. The other contains a filter. The same amount of water still passes, but much more slowly. That's exactly what fiber does to the carbohydrates you eat. For someone living with diabetes, that slower release can mean smaller blood sugar spikes after meals and less stress on the pancreas. But leafy greens offer another important advantage. They're one of the richest natural sources of magnesium. Magnesium helps your cells respond properly to insulin, the hormone responsible for moving glucose out of your bloodstream and into your muscles. Without enough magnesium, that process becomes less efficient, making blood sugar harder to control. This becomes even more important after age 50. As we grow older, we naturally lose muscle mass, and muscle is one of the body's largest storage sites for glucose. Less muscle means fewer places for sugar to go after a meal. Supporting healthy insulin function through nutrient-rich foods becomes increasingly valuable with age. Large population studies support this idea. Researchers analyzing thousands of adults found that people who regularly ate leafy green vegetables had a significantly lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes than those who rarely ate them. Even small increases in daily intake were linked to measurable benefits. Imagine a 65-year-old man who starts adding a handful of spinach to his lunch and another serving of greens with dinner. Nothing else changes. No expensive supplements. No strict diet. Just one simple habit repeated every day. Weeks later, his meals are naturally higher in fiber, more filling, and easier on his blood sugar. That's how lasting progress usually happens, not through dramatic changes, but through small decisions repeated consistently. The easiest way to eat more greens is to stop thinking of them as salad. Stir spinach into scrambled eggs. Add kale to soup. Mix Swiss chard into pasta sauce. Even frozen greens work beautifully and are often just as nutritious as fresh. Simple, affordable, and backed by decades of research. But if leafy greens help slow sugar absorption, the next vegetable goes one step further. Its natural gel-like fiber actually helps trap carbohydrates during digestion, making it one of the most effective vegetables for reducing blood sugar spikes after meals. Number 8. Okra, the vegetable that helps slow sugar before it enters your bloodstream. Now let's move to a vegetable that often gets mixed reactions. Some people love it. Others avoid it because of its texture. But if you're trying to control your blood sugar, that slippery texture may be the very reason you should give it another chance. We're talking about okra. Slice open a fresh okra pod, and you'll notice a thick, gel-like substance inside. It may not look impressive, but scientists have become increasingly interested in it because it's rich in soluble fiber, the kind of fiber that forms a gel in your digestive tract. Why does that matter? Because when you eat carbohydrates, your body breaks them down into glucose. Without enough fiber, that glucose can enter your bloodstream very quickly, causing a sharp spike in blood sugar. But soluble fiber changes the speed of that process. Think of it like a busy highway during rush hour. Without traffic lights, every car rushes forward at once, creating congestion. Now imagine traffic lights controlling the flow. The same number of cars still reach their destination, but much more gradually. That's exactly what okra's soluble fiber does. It doesn't stop your body from absorbing sugar. It simply slows the process, helping prevent those dramatic after-meal spikes that are so common in people with type 2 diabetes. Researchers have also identified antioxidants and natural plant compounds in okra that may help improve how the body responds to insulin. While scientists are still studying these effects, the early findings have been encouraging. More importantly, human studies are beginning to support them. A recent review of randomized clinical trials found that people with type 2 diabetes who regularly consumed okra experienced improvements in fasting blood glucose and modest reductions in HbA1c, the test that reflects average blood sugar over the previous 2 to 3 months. No, okra isn't a replacement for medication. But when combined with a healthy diet and appropriate medical treatment, it may become another valuable tool for improving glucose control. Imagine a 67-year-old woman who notices her blood sugar rises the most after dinner. Instead of looking for another supplement, She simply begins adding okra to her meals twice a week. Sometimes she slices it into vegetable soup. Other times she roasts it with onions, garlic, and olive oil. A few weeks later, her after-dinner readings begin looking more consistent. Not because of one magical food, but because she's giving her body more fiber with every meal. And consistency is what changes long-term health. One mistake many people make is overcooking okra. Boiling it for too long breaks down much of the texture that makes it so beneficial. Instead, lightly steam it, roast it, or quickly stir-fry it. If you don't enjoy the natural texture, cooking it with tomatoes or a splash of lemon juice helps reduce the stickiness while keeping most of its nutritional value. Frozen okra is also an excellent option and is often just as nutritious as fresh. Here's one final reminder. If you're taking insulin or medications that lower blood sugar, continue checking your glucose regularly as your diet improves. Healthier eating can gradually lower blood sugar, and any medication adjustments should always be made with your healthcare provider. Okra may not receive the attention of trendy superfoods, but its unique combination of soluble fiber and growing clinical evidence makes it one of the smartest vegetables you can add to your weekly routine. But the next vegetable is even more intriguing. It contains natural compounds that scientists believe may help your muscles absorb more glucose while also reducing the amount of sugar released by your liver. It's one of the few vegetables that has even been compared with a leading diabetes medication in clinical research. Number 7. Bitter melon, the vegetable that scientists put to the test. Now we're getting into the vegetables that have attracted serious scientific attention, and few have generated more interest than bitter melon. If you've ever tasted it, you know exactly how it got its name. It's one of the most bitter vegetables you can eat. But researchers aren't interested in its flavor. They're interested in what happens after it enters your body. For generations, bitter melon has been used in traditional medicine throughout Asia, India, and parts of Africa to help manage blood sugar. Modern science wanted to know whether those traditional claims could stand up to clinical testing. The answer has been surprisingly encouraging. Unlike most vegetables, bitter melon doesn't appear to work through just one pathway. Researchers have identified natural compounds, including charantin and polypeptide, that may help the body regulate glucose in several different ways. Some studies suggest they improve insulin sensitivity, helping your cells respond more effectively to insulin. Others indicate they may encourage muscle cells to take in more glucose from the bloodstream. There is also evidence that bitter melon may help reduce the amount of glucose produced by the liver. Think of your blood sugar like a sink with the faucet turned on. Food adds more water to the sink, but your liver also keeps adding water, even when you haven't eaten. With type 2 diabetes, that faucet often runs faster than it should. Bitter melon appears to help slow that extra flow while making it easier for your body to clear glucose already in the bloodstream. That's why scientists became so interested. Human studies have added to the excitement. Several randomized clinical trials have shown improvements in fasting blood sugar among adults with type 2 diabetes who regularly consumed bitter melon alongside their usual treatment. One study even compared bitter melon with metformin, one of the world's most commonly prescribed diabetes medications. Now, that's an important point. Researchers compared them because they wanted to understand how bitter melon worked, not because it replaces medication. No vegetable should ever be considered a substitute for your prescribed treatment. Instead, bitter melon should be viewed as another tool that may support healthy blood sugar when combined with proper medical care and a healthy lifestyle. Imagine a 60-year-old man who has recently been diagnosed with diabetes. He begins walking every evening, improves the quality of his meals, and occasionally includes bitter melon in his diet after discussing it with his doctor. 3 months later, his blood sugar is moving in the right direction. Was it the bitter melon alone? Of course not. It was the combination of healthier habits working together. That's how lasting improvements are made. Because bitter melon can influence blood sugar, it also comes with an important reminder. If you're taking insulin or medications that can cause low blood sugar, monitor your glucose carefully before making significant dietary changes. Some people may become more sensitive to their medication as their overall diet improves. Preparing bitter melon properly also makes a big difference. Slice it thin, sprinkle it with a little salt, let it sit for about 20 minutes, then rinse it before cooking. This helps reduce much of the bitterness. It's delicious, stir-fried with onions, tomatoes, garlic, or eggs, making it much easier to enjoy. Bitter melon certainly isn't the easiest vegetable to love, but its unique plant compounds and growing body of human research have earned it a place on this list. But the next food has even stronger clinical evidence. In one landmark study, participants lowered not only their long-term blood sugar, but also their blood pressure, simply by eating more of it. And the best part? It's one of the cheapest foods in almost every grocery store. Number 6. Legumes. The budget-friendly food that keeps blood sugar steady. Now we come to a food that almost every major diabetes organization recommends. Not because it's trendy, not because it's expensive, but because the science behind it is remarkably strong. We're talking about legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas, and peas. Although many people think of them as simple side dishes, legumes behave very differently from refined carbohydrates like white bread, white rice, or pasta. Here's why. Legumes contain a powerful combination of soluble fiber, plant protein, and resistant starch. Together, these nutrients slow digestion and release glucose into the bloodstream much more gradually. Imagine placing 2 logs on a fire. One is dry paper. The other is solid hardwood. The paper burns fast, creating a quick burst of heat before disappearing. The hardwood burns slowly, providing steady warmth for hours. Refined carbohydrates are like the paper. Legumes are like the hardwood. They provide a slow, steady supply of energy instead of causing sharp spikes and crashes in blood sugar. Researchers have also discovered something called the second meal effect. In simple terms, eating beans or lentils at lunch may actually improve your blood sugar response at dinner. How is that possible? The resistant starch found in legumes isn't completely digested in the small intestine. Instead, it travels to the large intestine, where it feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Those bacteria produce natural compounds called short-chain fatty acids, which help improve insulin sensitivity and support healthier glucose metabolism for hours after your meal. That's a benefit very few foods can offer. The clinical evidence is equally impressive. One landmark study from the University of Toronto followed adults with type 2 diabetes who added about 1 cup of legumes to their daily diet for 3 months. By the end of the study, participants had significantly improved their HbA1c, one of the most important measures of long-term blood sugar control. Even more encouraging, their systolic blood pressure also declined. That's important because heart disease remains the leading cause of complications in people with diabetes. Finding one affordable food that supports both blood sugar and heart health is a rare combination. Imagine a 68-year-old woman who normally serves white rice with every dinner. Instead of giving up carbohydrates completely, she replaces half the rice with lentils or black beans. The meal becomes richer in fiber, protein, and nutrients while keeping her fuller for longer. After a few weeks, she notices something unexpected. She's no longer reaching for cookies or crackers later in the evening because she simply isn't as hungry. That's another major benefit of legumes. Their combination of fiber and protein naturally helps control appetite, making it easier to maintain a healthy weight. And maintaining a healthy weight is one of the most effective ways to improve insulin sensitivity over time. Adding legumes to your meals couldn't be simpler. Mix chickpeas into salads. Add black beans to soups or chili. Serve lentils alongside grilled chicken or fish. Or use beans instead of part of the rice in your favorite meals. If you're buying canned beans, rinse them well to remove much of the added sodium. If you rarely eat legumes, start with smaller portions and increase them gradually. Your digestive system needs a little time to adjust to the extra fiber. The temporary bloating some people experience usually improves within a couple of weeks. Legumes remind us that not all carbohydrates are the same. Choosing the right kind of carbohydrate can actually help stabilize blood sugar instead of raising it. That's exactly why they've earned a place in diabetes nutrition guidelines around the world. But now we're entering the top 5. The next vegetable became famous after scientists discovered a natural compound that helps regulate one of the biggest causes of high fasting blood sugar, your liver's production of glucose. And the research behind it has attracted worldwide attention. Number 5. Broccoli, the vegetable that targets blood sugar at the source. Now we've reached the halfway point of our countdown, and this is where the science becomes especially exciting. You've probably eaten broccoli your entire life. Maybe steamed, maybe roasted, maybe pushed around your plate as a child. But few people realize that broccoli became the focus of major diabetes research because of one powerful natural compound. It's called sulforaphane. Unlike the vegetables we've discussed so far, broccoli doesn't just help slow the absorption of sugar after a meal. It may also help address one of the biggest hidden causes of high blood sugar, the liver. Here's what many people don't realize. Even when you haven't eaten for hours, your liver continues releasing glucose into your bloodstream. Normally, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Your brain and muscles need a steady supply of energy between meals. But in people with type 2 diabetes, the liver often releases far more glucose than the body actually needs. That's one reason so many people wake up with high fasting blood sugar, even if they didn't eat anything overnight. Researchers wanted to know if there was a natural way to reduce that unnecessary glucose production. That's when they discovered sulforaphane. A team of scientists in Sweden analyzed thousands of natural compounds while studying type 2 diabetes. Out of all the compounds they examined, sulforaphane stood out because it appeared to influence the genetic pathways involved in excessive liver glucose production. The findings were so promising that they moved into human clinical trials. Adults with type 2 diabetes were given concentrated broccoli sprout extract for several weeks, while researchers monitored their blood sugar. The results were encouraging. Participants with poorly controlled diabetes, especially those with obesity, showed meaningful improvements in fasting blood glucose compared with the placebo group. Now, let's keep those findings in perspective. The study didn't prove broccoli replaces medication, and it certainly wasn't suggesting people should stop taking metformin or other prescribed treatments. What it showed is something equally important. The foods we eat can influence the same biological systems scientists target when developing diabetes therapies. That's powerful. Imagine a 64-year-old woman who's frustrated because her morning glucose is always higher than expected. Instead of searching for another expensive supplement, she begins making one simple change. 3 nights each week, she replaces fries or white rice with lightly steamed broccoli. Some evenings she adds broccoli to stir fries. Other days she includes it in soups or salads. A few months later, her fasting blood sugar begins moving in the right direction. Not because broccoli performed a miracle, but because healthier habits were finally working together. That's how lasting progress usually happens. To get the most benefit, preparation matters. Boiling broccoli for a long time can reduce some of its beneficial compounds. Instead, lightly steam it for just a few minutes until it's bright green and still slightly firm. Roasting is another excellent option. If you can find broccoli sprouts, they're worth trying too, because they contain much higher levels of sulforaphane precursors than mature broccoli. And here's one simple trick many people don't know. Sprinkle a small amount of mustard powder over cooked broccoli. Mustard contains an enzyme called myrosinase, which helps your body produce more active sulforaphane. It's an easy way to increase broccoli's natural benefits without changing your meal. Broccoli has earned its reputation for a reason. It's affordable, easy to prepare, rich in fiber, packed with antioxidants, and backed by some of the strongest scientific evidence of any vegetable on today's list. But don't go anywhere. The next vegetable is often overlooked because of its size. Yet it's loaded with fiber, antioxidants, and heart-protective nutrients that become even more important after the age of 50. And it may be one of the easiest vegetables to add to your weekly meals. Number 4. Brussels sprouts. The tiny vegetable that does more than you think. Now let's talk about a vegetable that many people overlook. Brussels sprouts. They're small. They're inexpensive. And they're often pushed aside in favor of potatoes or pasta. But if you're trying to manage your blood sugar, Brussels sprouts deserve a place on your plate. Like broccoli, Brussels sprouts belong to the cruciferous vegetable family. That means they naturally contain fiber, vitamins, and powerful plant compounds that support healthy metabolism. Let's start with what matters most for diabetes. Fiber. 1 cup of Brussels sprouts provides a generous amount of dietary fiber while containing very little digestible carbohydrate. That means they help slow the release of glucose into your bloodstream after a meal. Instead of a sharp rise followed by a crash, your body experiences a steadier, more controlled response. And that's exactly what you want when you're trying to keep blood sugar within a healthy range. But fiber isn't the only reason Brussels sprouts earn this spot. They're also packed with antioxidants, including vitamin C and camphorol. These compounds help protect your cells from oxidative stress, which is one of the hidden drivers of diabetes complications. Over time, high blood sugar can damage blood vessels, nerves, and vital organs. Antioxidants help reduce some of that damage by protecting healthy cells from harmful free radicals. Another reason researchers value Brussels sprouts is because they're rich in glucosinolates. When you chew or cook these vegetables, glucosinolates are converted into natural compounds that help support the body's defense systems and reduce chronic inflammation. That's important because inflammation and insulin resistance often go hand in hand. The lower the inflammation, the easier it is for insulin to do its job. Imagine a 70-year-old man who's trying to improve both his blood sugar and his heart health. Instead of serving fries with dinner, he starts roasting Brussels sprouts with a little olive oil, garlic, and black pepper. They're crispy on the outside, tender on the inside, and surprisingly flavorful. Within weeks, he's eating more vegetables without feeling like he's on a diet. That's the goal. Not temporary changes, but habits you can enjoy for years. Brussels sprouts are also one of the best vegetables for adults over 50 because they support more than blood sugar. People with diabetes have a much higher risk of heart disease. The fiber in Brussels sprouts may help improve cholesterol levels, while their potassium supports healthy blood pressure. It's another reminder that managing diabetes isn't only about lowering glucose. It's about protecting your entire body. Preparation makes a difference. If you've only eaten Brussels sprouts boiled until they're soft, it's time to try them another way. Roasting or air frying brings out their natural sweetness and creates a completely different flavor. Even people who disliked them as children are often surprised by how good they taste when cooked properly. Brussels sprouts may not receive the attention they deserve, but their combination of fiber, antioxidants, and heart-healthy nutrients makes them one of the smartest vegetables you can eat regularly. But now we're entering the top 3. The next vegetable is probably already sitting in your refrigerator. It's inexpensive, incredibly versatile, and packed with nutrients that help protect both your blood sugar and your blood vessels. Number 3. Cabbage. The everyday vegetable that quietly protects your blood sugar. We've made it to the top 3. And this next vegetable proves you don't need expensive superfoods to improve your health. In fact, one of the best foods for blood sugar control is probably sitting in your refrigerator right now. Cabbage. Green cabbage, red cabbage, Napa cabbage. Whichever variety you choose, they all have something in common. They're packed with nutrients while having very little impact on your blood sugar. The first reason cabbage deserves this spot is its high fiber content. Fiber slows the digestion of carbohydrates, which means glucose enters your bloodstream more gradually after a meal. Instead of creating a sharp spike, your blood sugar rises at a slower, steadier pace. That's exactly what you want if you're trying to reduce stress on your pancreas and improve long-term glucose control. But cabbage offers something else that many people overlook. It's loaded with antioxidants. When blood sugar stays elevated for long periods, your body produces more harmful molecules known as free radicals. Over time, these molecules damage blood vessels, nerves, kidneys, and even the tiny blood vessels in your eyes. That's one reason diabetes complications develop. Antioxidants help neutralize many of those harmful molecules before they can cause as much damage. If you choose red cabbage, you'll receive an even bigger antioxidant boost. Its deep purple color comes from natural pigments called anthocyanins, the same family of plant compounds found in blueberries and blackberries. Researchers have linked anthocyanins with healthier blood vessels, lower inflammation, and better cardiovascular health. And that's important because diabetes isn't just about blood sugar. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death among people with type 2 diabetes. Protecting your blood vessels today may help protect your heart tomorrow. Like broccoli and Brussels sprouts, cabbage is also a cruciferous vegetable. That means it contains glucosinolates, natural compounds researchers continue studying for their role in reducing inflammation and supporting healthy metabolism. While scientists are still learning exactly how these compounds work, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. People who regularly eat cruciferous vegetables tend to have better long-term metabolic health than those who rarely eat them. Imagine a 71-year-old woman living on a fixed retirement income. She wants to eat healthier but believes nutritious foods are too expensive. Instead of buying costly supplements, she picks up a single head of cabbage. It becomes a fresh salad for lunch, a warm side dish with dinner, and part of a homemade vegetable soup later in the week. For just a few dollars, she's added several days of fiber-rich, nutrient-dense meals to her diet. That's one of cabbage's greatest strengths. It's affordable enough to become a lifelong habit. Cabbage is also excellent for weight management. Because it's high in both fiber and water, it helps you feel full without adding many calories. Feeling satisfied after meals makes it easier to avoid sugary snacks later in the day, supporting both healthy weight and stable blood sugar. Preparing cabbage couldn't be easier. Slice it into salads. Lightly stir-fry it with garlic and onions. Add it to soups or stews, or roast it alongside other vegetables. If you enjoy fermented foods, a small serving of sauerkraut can also support a healthy gut microbiome. Just choose lower sodium varieties whenever possible. The beauty of cabbage is its simplicity. It isn't marketed as a miracle food. It doesn't cost a fortune, yet it delivers fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, and plant compounds that support healthy aging and better blood sugar control with every serving. Sometimes the most powerful health decisions aren't the most complicated. They're the ones you can repeat every single week. But now we've reached the final two. The next vegetable is one you probably use almost every day without realizing it may help support insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, and add flavor without adding sugar. Number 2. Onions, the everyday vegetable that helps more than you think. Now we've reached number 2, and this may be the biggest surprise on today's list. Most people think of onions as nothing more than a flavoring ingredient. You add them to soups, salads, sandwiches, or stir-fries. But researchers have discovered that onions contain several natural compounds that may help support healthier blood sugar. One of the most important is quercetin. Quercetin is a powerful antioxidant found in especially high amounts in red and yellow onions. Scientists believe it may help reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, two major factors that contribute to insulin resistance. Think of insulin as a key. Its job is to unlock your cells so glucose can move out of your bloodstream and be used for energy. But over time, poor diet, excess weight, and chronic inflammation can make those locks harder to open. The key is still there. It just doesn't work as efficiently. That's insulin resistance. By helping reduce inflammation, onions may help your body respond to insulin more effectively. Onions are also rich in sulfur-containing compounds. These natural compounds support your body's own antioxidant defenses and help protect blood vessels from damage caused by long-term high blood sugar. That's important because diabetes affects much more than your glucose readings. It can damage your heart, kidneys, eyes, nerves, and circulation. Protecting your blood vessels today may reduce your risk of complications tomorrow. Several human studies have also reported modest improvements in fasting blood glucose among people who regularly included onions in their diet. While researchers agree that more large clinical trials are still needed, the overall findings are encouraging. Another reason onions deserve this spot is their effect on gut health. They naturally contain prebiotic fiber, especially a type called inulin. Unlike probiotics, which are live bacteria, prebiotics feed the healthy bacteria already living in your digestive system. A healthier gut microbiome has been linked to better insulin sensitivity, improved metabolism, and lower levels of chronic inflammation. Scientists are learning more about this connection every year, and it may become one of the most important areas of diabetes research in the future. Imagine a 66-year-old woman who loves cooking but relies on bottled sauces to make meals taste better. Many of those sauces contain surprising amounts of added sugar. Instead, she starts using onions, garlic, herbs, and spices to build flavor naturally. Her meals taste just as good, sometimes even better, but contain far less added sugar. It's a simple change that benefits both her palate and her blood sugar. The best part is that onions are incredibly easy to include in your daily meals. Add sliced onions to salads. Sauté them with broccoli or cabbage. Mix them into soups and stews. Or roast them alongside chicken or fish. If you enjoy raw onions, red onions are especially rich in antioxidants and make an excellent topping for salads. One thing to avoid is heavily breaded or deep-fried onion dishes. Those versions are often loaded with refined flour and unhealthy fats that can quickly outweigh the vegetable's natural benefits. Instead, enjoy onions as part of meals centered around lean protein, healthy fats, and plenty of non-starchy vegetables. Onions may seem ordinary, but their combination of quercetin, sulfur compounds, and prebiotic fiber makes them one of the easiest ways to support healthier blood sugar while adding natural flavor to your meals. But now we've reached the moment you've been waiting for. The number one vegetable didn't earn its place because of tradition. It earned it because modern science identified a natural compound so promising that researchers around the world began studying it as one of the most exciting discoveries in diabetes nutrition. Number 1. Broccoli sprouts, the vegetable that changed the way scientists think about blood sugar. We've finally reached number 1. And this vegetable didn't earn the top spot because of tradition. It earned it because of science. A team of researchers in Sweden wasn't looking for another healthy food. They were searching for natural compounds that could target one of the biggest biological problems behind type 2 diabetes. So they analyzed thousands of naturally occurring compounds, looking for one that could help reduce the excessive glucose production seen in diabetes. The compound that stood out wasn't found in a laboratory-made drug. It came from broccoli sprouts. Tiny broccoli plants harvested just a few days after they begin to grow. The reason they're so special is a natural compound called sulforaphane. Earlier, we talked about mature broccoli. Broccoli sprouts contain far more of the natural precursors that produce sulforaphane, making them one of the richest food sources available. But why were scientists so excited? Because one of the biggest challenges in type 2 diabetes isn't just the sugar you eat. It's the sugar your liver continues producing, even while you're sleeping. In many people with diabetes, the liver releases far more glucose than the body actually needs. That's why fasting blood sugar often remains high, even after an entire night without food. Sulforaphane appears to help regulate that process. Instead of simply slowing carbohydrate absorption, it targets one of the body's own sources of excess glucose. That's what made researchers pay attention. In one landmark human study, adults with type 2 diabetes were given concentrated broccoli sprout extract every day for several weeks. The results were especially encouraging in participants with obesity and poorly controlled diabetes. Researchers observed significant improvements in fasting blood sugar compared with the placebo group. Those findings sparked even more research into sulforaphane and its role in blood sugar regulation. Now, let's be absolutely clear. This doesn't mean broccoli sprouts replace diabetes medication. They don't. And no responsible healthcare professional would recommend stopping your prescribed treatment because of one food. Instead, broccoli sprouts represent something far more realistic. Another tool. Another healthy habit. Another way to support your body's natural ability to regulate blood sugar. Think about everything we've covered today. Leafy greens slow digestion and provide magnesium. Okra helps reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes. Bitter melon supports healthy glucose metabolism through several pathways. Legumes provide slow-burning carbohydrates that nourish your gut bacteria. Broccoli helps regulate liver glucose production. Brussels sprouts fight inflammation while supporting heart health. Cabbage protects blood vessels with fiber and antioxidants. Onions improve flavor while providing quercetin and prebiotic fiber. And broccoli sprouts bring together one of the most exciting natural compounds modern diabetes research has discovered. Notice something important. No single vegetable does everything. That's why healthy eating isn't about finding one miracle food. It's about building meals where different foods work together. Imagine your dinner plate. Half of it is filled with colorful, non-starchy vegetables. 1/4 contains lean protein like fish or chicken. The remaining quarter includes a high-fiber carbohydrate such as lentils or beans instead of refined starches. That's not a restrictive diet. It's simply a smarter way to eat. Now imagine following that pattern not for 1 week, not for 1 month, but for the next 5 or 10 years. Those meals become hundreds of healthier choices, then thousands. That's where the real power lies. Not in one vegetable, not in one supplement, but in the habits you repeat every single day. If broccoli sprouts aren't available where you live, don't worry. Regular broccoli is still one of the healthiest vegetables you can eat. Lightly steaming it helps preserve many of its beneficial compounds, and adding a small pinch of mustard powder after cooking can help increase the formation of active sulforaphane. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. One healthier meal today, another tomorrow, and another the day after that. Before we finish, let's quickly review today's countdown. Number 9. Leafy greens. Rich in fiber and magnesium to support healthy insulin function. Number 8. Okra. Soluble fiber helps reduce blood sugar spikes after meals. Number 7. Bitter melon. Natural compounds that may improve glucose regulation. Number 6. Legumes. Slow-digesting carbohydrates that support both blood sugar and heart health. Number 5. Broccoli. A rich source of sulforaphane that helps regulate liver glucose production. Number 4. Brussels sprouts. Fiber, antioxidants, and heart protective nutrients. Number 3. Cabbage. Affordable, versatile, and packed with antioxidants. Number 2. Onions. Quercetin and prebiotic fiber that support metabolic health. And number 1. Broccoli sprouts. One of the most promising natural foods ever studied for blood sugar management. Here's the most important message I hope you remember. You don't have to change everything overnight. Start with one better meal, then another. Small decisions may not seem life-changing today, but repeated over months and years, they can completely change the direction of your health. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments. Which of these vegetables are you already eating, and which one are you going to add to your grocery list this week? I'd love to hear your answer. And if you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you love who's living with diabetes or prediabetes. Finally, remember that the information in this video is for educational purposes only. If you take insulin or blood sugar-lowering medication, talk with your healthcare provider before making major dietary changes, because improving your diet may also change your treatment needs. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself, keep making small, healthy choices, and I'll see you in the next video.